on another. How many ways you're gonna keep losing to Kansas City? 3 different ways. Different instances. Finally got him at home. Didn't finish the job. know, I'm hoping the Bills get another coach that can come in to coach up Josh Allen before it's too late. What a waste when you're in potential and you don't finish up. And I have to listen to Nick right, Nick wrong. And first things first, guys. Because Mahomes is a special talent. Can't even begin to say enough about how great he is because then he had his matchup with Lamar Jackson. But what's up? I'm here for a minute, so let's chop it up. Have to give Mahomes his due. He came up big. He did what he usually do. They did everything I didn't want them to do. They let Isaiah run on him, and they let Kelsey posterize him and post up. So, you got to win those games. It didn't come down to him. He missed a kick, but I'm not blaming him for that. We just didn't play no defense. What happened to our defensive stops? I remember, defense didn't come up. Everything I didn't want to happen happened. They let him run on him. He passed on him. He dictated the tempo. So Diggs dropping passes. They're just not a consistent team. They're just not in the same ebb and flow. So, you want to win, you want to win. If you don't, it's the body language. I still think it begins and ends with the coach. And I just don't think that they had the right mindset. And I think they're going to have to make some changes. It's 5 straight years they've gone to the playoffs, 5 straight years they've been knocked out. The last 2 straight years in the second round, last 2 straight years at home. And 3 of those years to Kansas City. So it's like sooner or later you got to figure it out, or you're just taking up space and time. You're not doing anything. And so that's just the sad reality, So what's happening? How you doing? Great to see you, Partha Joshua. I usually don't come here on Mondays, but I'm glad to see anybody comes through. So feel free to ask questions and holler. I wonder what part of Canada you from, because I used to live on the West Coast. I was near Vancouver, Washington. I was on the one over there by Vancouver. So thank you. You're going to like my video that I just posted. It'll be on YouTube. Should be coming up probably by tomorrow. And I was giving Mike Evans his due because I did a take about the Detroit. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. I was talking about that with Mike Evans. He's kind of like the modern day Andre Reed, got the slash moves, can move. Either that or DeAndre Hopkins, but you cannot afford not to get another playmaker with Josh Allen. And it's not so much that Josh Allen threw bad plays or picks, he must have that fumble. Okay. Then you know all about Stanley Park. Okay, right on. It's just that they're just not prepared. He does. Because he came up big against Detroit. And listen, if you can make Baker Mayfield look good, what do you think he would do with Josh Allen? Thank you. I mean, for real. So, he would do wonders. If he could do that, if you do that with Baker Mayfield, and I'm still going to call Baker Mayfield a third-tier receiver, a quarterback, but Mike Evans was balling. Detroit was just a little bit better. But that's just frustration. That's all. It's frustration. And I'm going to have to hear Nick Wright. I can't even argue against Mahomes' dominance because he's 6 straight AFC championships. Crazy. Yep. He doesn't, even though he's on the same field as Patrick Mahomes, he's not in the same tier level. I still remember last week, Mad Dog Russo was going at Stephen A. Smith saying, if my life depended on him taking Mahomes. Just saying. He came up big again. What you gonna do? Yeah, Evans is the kind of guy that he's definitely somebody I would definitely want to go after. So, and they didn't overlook him. I think they were pretty evenly matched. It's just that Detroit tends to get kind of cutesy and they kind of stop their flow. But I don't think they overlooked them. I mean, it was a pretty evenly matched up game. It's just that Baker Mayfield doing Baker Mayfield things through 2 bad picks in the game, and that's what it came down to, really, because it's pretty evenly matched. Detroit's well coached. Dan Campbell got them playing, and I'm gonna tell you something. They feisty enough to give Frisco a fit. Should they beat Frisco? No, but could they? I mean, just saying, because the Lions are legit. They are legit, and they're battle tested, and that's gonna be a dogfight against Frisco. So, just saying. Because if you take any of the main weapons from Brock Purdy, that game could go either way. And you've seen what happened early in the season, so health is everything. So, but anyway, yeah, I give her credit is due. Well, they've been taking over. I mean, this is not too new because, you had Russell Wilson, Kaepernick a decade ago, even though it wasn't as put. But Mahomes is still kind of like on his own island. I thought Deshaun Watson might have been there. I thought there was a couple others, and I see in C.J. Love, and I see C.J. Stroud, and I see Jordan Love is coming. But Mahomes is kind of like Tiger Woods, and it's kind of like everybody else after, even Lamar. I like Lamar a lot, and Lamar is one of the few that belong in there. But Mahomes, all due respect, he's kind of on his own island right now. He's in that Tiger Woods dominance thing. I mean, he's scary. If Jordan Love learns how to read the field properly, I'll give you that. He just has to learn how to read the field because he threw a bad pick at the end. And sometimes he tries to make things happen, especially over the middle of the field. He has to just pick up his timing. He's good off his back foot when he kind of just throws the ball down to the sides. It's when he tries to throw it in the middle, he gets himself trying to do too much. But he will be poised. I think you will have a strong case in about a couple of years. I'll give you that. Not right now, and maybe not next year, but in a couple, everything goes right, I definitely could say that. Because in Jordan Love's defense, he doesn't have a Debo or a Mac behind him. Aaron Jones is bad, but those guys, Debo sets an incredible tone of what he does, and Christian McCaffrey's on another level. So those are special. And he got a good receiving core. He's got a better set of tools around at his disposal. So I'll say that. But Jordan Love is coming, though. I believe that. Dallas found out, and they had Frisco on the rocks. Should have, maybe could have won that game, but that's another story. I think in a year or two, he picks up things better than he did this time. Still a learning curve. But black QBs have been taken over, though. Well, he's near the end of his ropes. I think he's probably got another couple years after this year. If he gets another ring, yeah, he's, be there with Gronk. And I could make the case that he may have passed Gronk if he gets another ring for the simple fact that he really is a big factor to what Mahomes does, and he's been in sync. I'm not feeling the whole Taylor Swift thing, but I'll say that the guy can flat out play. He came up big yesterday. And if you sit there and let him do his Shaq Gronk impersonation of bodying you up and you become barbecue chicken, he's going to win that battle because you got to know how to front him. And I said the worst mistake they did was let him get deep on him. And then he started crowding the line and he got the rock and he got going. You cannot let him get comfortable in the sweet spot. They defended that wrong. They let Kansas City power him again. Everything I didn't want to happen, it came to pass. Can't let them run and dag you down your throat. And then, the tempo, because you're not going to win that. You're not winning that battle with them. So that's why they're going where they're going and we're going where we're going. One team plays it the right way and the other team stinks it up. So we stinking it up. And I can't even say nothing. I can't, because Andy Reid is a better quality tier coach. And that's the bottom line. And as a Bills fan, it's frustrating because you done lost 5 different ways. The way you lost to Jacksonville, the 3 different ways to Kansas City, the way you choked against Houston, and the way you got beat up against Cincinnati. I'm like, how much more of this we got to take year in, year out? Oh, yeah. Look at his company. Oh, I mean, what other quarterback have you known gone to 8 conference championships in a row? Mahomes is doing something that even LeBron James couldn't do without having a stacked squad. And you don't look at this Kansas City team and think they stacked. He's just a special quarterback. That's all. I mean, he is as great as advertised. Believe me, if Aaron Rodgers had this kind of run that Mahomes got, you think they slurp him now? The Brokeback Mountain overload would be way more jarring. No, you don't say nothing to a guy like this. This guy just is a flat out winner. You know, he's tough. He's battle tested. I don't think too many people is exactly crying and talking trash about his contract now. He more than makes up for it. He's just dominant. Yeah, 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 yeah. If I'm being honest, probably across all major sports now, because I can't think of anybody in baseball that's dominant like him. I can't think of anybody in the NBA that's dominant like him. He's really he's on his own island right now. Track and field. Tennis, you might say Jokic to an extent, but not even that. I mean, just, yeah. He's on his own island. He's like Tiger. There are other guys who are contenders. And maybe Lamar or Burrows or one of those guys might be like the Phil Nicholson, but they're not in his rear view. Not the way he's at. Not the way I see him. Yeah, he did. But how's that turn out for Tyreek? You know, yeah, he can style and profile in Miami and South Beach, but that team ain't winning nothing. They got a gimmick head coach who got them. They're good enough to beat up and pounce on second and third tier teams, but they soften the cakes and then the first casualties. No one's taking Miami serious. So, how'd that turn out? Not too good. Not too good. But yeah, his deal is bad in hindsight. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, but I got a lot of respect for him though. Like I said before, he's done the thing. He's you know. Okay, you had asked me about this, and I'll just say this again. She sold out. That's not even her real name. She looks like the SUV um, um, Law and Order chick. You know, just like DeSantis saying there's no racism in America. They say stuff that they don't believe in. You can't say there's no racism in America and then you say there's a little girl, you got called every name in the book. You can't say there's no racism in America and then you're the same person who took down a Confederate flag 7 years ago when you're governor of a state because a white boy goes into a black church and shoots up the church. You can't say that without sounding like a crackhead. So, you know, you can't say that. So, you know, you can you can come out and say certain things, but you can't come out and say that. So I have a problem with you know, her logic, because if you're also trying to legislate a party that wants to say anti-black woke and teaching black history in school, you're lying to people and you're in denial. But her being right now is in denial. You know, she doesn't even look like the way she was, and she's trying to create this facade and this persona. So, you know, he's supposed to because they're the Super Bowl champs. He's supposed to because they've been a dynamic duo. They are the Brady and Gronk of their time, kind of like Montana and Rice with Andy Reid. I don't have a problem with it because they are in a trajectory where they are dominant and they've been successful. I'm sorry, Josh Allen and Sean McDermott aren't successful like that. They've got knocked out 5 straight years in 5 different ways. That's not memorable. That's a waste of potential. That's a waste of greatness. That's a chance that you're selling on being good to very good, but you're never going to be mentioned amongst the greats because you underachieve. And that's the difference between wins and losses. And Josh Allen doesn't even have a runner-up like Joe Burrow's got. At least something to say, hey, I got there and I did this. He didn't found 3 different ways to lose to Mahomes and them, and they did not improve upon themselves. I feel the same way because it becomes almost like, what is it going to take for you to be the light bulb? You're supposed to be Jim Kelly 2.0, a better version of Ben Roethlisberger, or be clutch. We can't get a Super Bowl out of you. You're just not that dude. It's just not coming into view. It's just not happening. You look the part and you can play the part, but you just don't finish it up. So it's very problematic. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. You know, it's very frustrating, very jarring. He made some bad mistakes through the year, and the Jets game was a great example of it. That was a frustrating game to watch. Just games, he's had some terrible decisions that he made. This is a team that should be a 13, 14 win team, not struggling at the last week to get to 11 wins and have their postseason fate decide here, and he just doesn't finish. And so he's had some really stinkers for a guy that's very talented. And it's hard to keep championing somebody who just doesn't get the job done. You know. Meanwhile, you got a guy on the other side, he don't do nothing but camp out in the AFC Championship games. So you just got to kind of wonder, one guy's career is wasting away while the other guy's thriving. So that's what's up. I like how you phrased it. The only way he help his legacy if he wins, though. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he's kind of seen as a journeyman that's kind of been left for dead. And when he was with Sean McVay, he wasn't seen as a great quarterback. He wasn't seen as a dude that could do it. So for him to go and to be first going to go to the Super Bowl, but if he was to win, it would say he wasn't a guy who should have been a first tier, like a third tier. It would be huge. He has to win. 2 appearances doesn't really make or help him. It helps him in terms of his money, but it's not going to really say that people are going to think he was necessarily great, as Dan Campbell did with Detroit, but it'll come in handy. I think he'll catch a lot of people off guard, though. But I don't know, to say he's great. In the food chain, he's not seen better than Matthew Stafford. He'll have moments where he's better than some other guys, but how good is he really? I can't say it'll sway me. Because if you're ranking the 3 quarterbacks that are playing this weekend, he's 4th. And way in 4th place. I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes, Lamar's Lamar, and then Purdy's got an edge over him. So if you understand what that 4 means, his 4th place is like dead last. But were he to go to Super Bowl and win, then Jared Goff starts to move up some ranks, but not a lot like that. So, but I know what you're saying. That's a good comment that you made. That's a good comment, but I just don't feel that it'll really, Houston was able to do a few things, and it'll be interesting if Kansas City tries to exploit that, Obviously, what you want to do against Lamar, you want him to play quarterback. You don't want him to dance in the pocket. If you're the Ravens, you want to frustrate Mahomes and make him throw more of a linear game. You don't want him to be off tilt, because when he starts to ad-lib his thing, that's when he's dangerous. So it's going to be interesting whose style of quarterback can take over. So it all depends. It all depends. That can go either way. That can go either way. So all depends on how you look at it. Oh, their defense has been doing the job. They really actually played pretty good. I mean, the Bills just missed some spots, but they actually did a pretty good job against Josh yesterday. Their defense is being pretty much intact. All they got to do with Lamar, though, is just kind of stay home with him. You know, don't get caught up in a situation where you let him, you know, dance too much. You got to be very careful. But, you know, as long as you stay from mistakes, special teams can be huge. It could go either way. It could go either way. So that's how I look at it. So I don't think that, I don't think that's going to be tough for them to really. Okay, now you asked me some good questions. Okay, oh, Bruce Smith. Okay, come on now. Bruce. Strahan was great, but Bruce Smith was a guy that you kind of thought of if wasn't for Reggie White or somebody else, he should be in that sentence because that's how dominant he was. He was dominant. Strahan was bad, and I know he got the sack record for the year, but Bruce was a freaking beast. Now that's a better question there, actually. I loved Ed Reed, but I gotta say Ronnie Lott because Ronnie Lott was so physical. I mean, he covered so many bases, and that before the way he was, he was so uncanny. Ronnie Lott was just a freak, and physical, got at you. Ed Reed was bad, and I like them both, but Ronnie Lott, I gotta give him the slight edge though. Something about Ronnie Lott, the way he hit and what that did for that defense, because to the point where he was so great, and because Ed Reed did have Ray Lewis. Ed Reed was bad, don't get it twisted, but Ronnie Lott was so bad that often depending on what Bill Walsh was going with it, you didn't know if they were leaning more Ronnie Lott or Joe Montana. That's how bad he was. He was a freak. Ronnie Lott, yeah. He was a guy that, yeah. Because it's one of them situations that if it wasn't for Montana being Montana, you might have said, people might have been so inclined to say that, they win because of Ronnie Lott. I got to go with Freeney because I thought Freeney had a little bit more, hit me off a little bit more. It's like a way he moved me a little bit more. I'm not like Jason Taylor. He definitely made himself to a great player, But I just think that Freeney, there was something about the way Freeney came up big for the Colts. I had to give him a slight edge. And I think he's kind of been underappreciated too. But that's a good one between those two. They both were big time. Both of them were big time. Because when Jason Taylor had Zach Thomas, you just wonder why they didn't win more, because they definitely benefit from Jerry Jones, but they just didn't, so. But yeah. So that's a good one. Mm-hmm. Oh boy. For me, Barry Sanders. Agility, everything, and he didn't have the luxury of playing with a great quarterback or a great system. Marshall Faulk had great systems. Marshall Faulk was great all around back. But Barry Sanders is one of those guys. It's like he really put the team on his back, and I just think that he just, he had to add so much to what he was doing. I just think that he was on another level. And very few running backs. I got to go back to what OJ or Walter Payton or Jim Brown, and that's the kind of class I put him in. Oh, God. Vinny didn't. My cousin Vinny didn't even get to be a good player until he was about 38, 39. When with the pound on the pavement, Vinny. Jeff George had a better arm. Jeff George had one of the greatest arms I've ever seen, except he had one of the worst attitudes I've ever seen. Kind of like guys like him and Jake Plummer. And so, if you go by talent, it's Jeff George in a blowout. If you're asking me who had the better career and moved me more, Vinny Testaverde. But I have to laugh because these guys were two of the most frustrating guys for different reasons. You know. Yeah, I'm saying. I mean, I remember when that game against Seattle, he got in the end zone, it was 4th and 1, and he pounded the pavement, and the refs gave him the touchdown. That's why they changed the replay rules because of my cousin Vinny, because he pounded. Me and my homeboy was cracking up. I said, he didn't get in the end zone, he pounded, and they gave it to him. I cracked up. He got better as he got older, but he wasn't much of nothing when he was with Tampa Bay. He sucked. So did Steve Young, too. Doug Williams was better, but that's another video, another story. Reggie White. I love Bruce to death, but Reggie White with Philly and Green Bay, I mean, he was a physical specimen. And they were already loaded, but he was the dude that sealed the deal. He got the Green Bay, he was a deal sealer. And he just physical, dominant, just had a certain aura about him. So I gotta give Reggie that one. Gotta give it to Reggie. Gotta give it to Reggie. Gotta give it to Reggie. Give it to Reggie on that one. Yeah. But I love them both, though. But I gotta give Reggie the edge. I think he had more of an impact, obviously, Elway, not even close. Favre was great, and that's kind of what Josh Allen a little bit gets compared to. Gunslinger, strong arm, made himself into a great player, but Elway was like a natural. Elway was the precursor to Aaron Rodgers, and he was clutch and big time, and he was poetic, so you had to have seen what he was doing. He could, he could just bring it to you. He just had incredible motion. There was a time there was a battle between him and Marino, who threw the better pass. And I'm not the biggest UFC fighters, but I gotta think, who would I say? Chuck Liddell. There's a few that I like, but I'm not the biggest UFC fighter. I watch it, but I don't really get into it. Like I respect it, but to me, it's not like I grew up watching boxing, and I thought that those guys at a particular time, with careers and everything. This UFC thing, I give Dana White, he's a good pimp, because he still got Conor McGregor getting love and, some of these other folks. But I don't necessarily think that you are producing what I call people for the long haul, because it's a real short-term career. So, Ernie Shavers. Ernie, was it Razor Ruddock? Marvin Hagler. There you go. Hagler, Shavers come to mind. Yeah. Because Hagler was a beast and Shavers was a beast. So they come to mind. Basically bald head brothers. And hit you hard too. Knock your nose off. Yeah. So. But yeah, me and the UFC fighters, I mean, there's a few guys that come to mind, but I don't really think I have any favorites because, again, I watched it as a collective body, but not really where I sat there and thought, oh, I got to, because the careers are so short term, and it doesn't really loan itself for me to like, fan out year in year out. So whereas boxing was different, and other sports are different. So I hope that helps. You know, because to say that, it's like you really have to been there. UFC fighters is almost like saying who your favorite rapper is of a particular era, because unless you're there, or it's like comedian, it's one of them things. It's a real quick, instantaneous thing, and if you ain't there to experience it, so that's all. I love them both in different ways, but Lot covered more his defense. He specialized. Troy Polamalu was incredible because he could just jump. Kind of if Micah Parsons took on Troy Polamalu's attitude, he might be even more dangerous than he is. Troy, and if I was the Dallas Cowboys, I'd try to hire him as a defensive coordinator, because Troy definitely knew how to jump lines, manipulate lines, and was versatile and scary with his skill set. So he did a lot of disruption. One of the best positive news I know. Except he was a top tier player. The difference between him and Ori is that he's a Hall of Fame bound. He wasn't a guy that was just one for the postseason. Santonio Holmes was more Robert Ori, and Lynn Swan was more Robert Ori. Troy was actually a frontline cat. So when you asked me him against, but his versatility was, he was a freakier. The things he could disrupt so much, and he really did know how to disrupt. Whereas Locke would get it one man, and he could be so physical, it demanding. So they two different types of players, but they both meant the same to their teams, except Ronnie Lott was so strong. I remember when he played without that finger, that broken finger. He's one of the guys that you could make the case was as important to the 49ers as Rice and Montana was. Troy Polamalu was too, but it's a little bit different. Okay, well, this one here is easy for me. I'm taking Randy Moss. Randy Moss was more poetic, like he had the better skill set. T.O. played with the emotion. And if you combine the two, they would have Jerry Rice beat. So it all depends on how you look at it. But I have to give Moss the edge. I think he was a freak. At best footwork I've ever seen of a receiver. T.O. could always use his body wisely and go beat you down the seam over the middle. So here's where he was strongest at. But I think Moss was that dude that he was poetic. It's just that he didn't always feel like bringing it. Bledsoe. Brunell was a decent quarterback, but Bledsoe was a prototype that had what I consider a better career to me. I think he got the job done. But again, because he didn't finish everything that he had done, you kind of forget how good, he was good. Never got the great. Brunell, better than average, but I was never blown away though. So Glenn Rice, I loved in Miami. He was good in Charlotte, and he could score, and he was big and strong, and he was underrated with the Lakers when Shaq, Kobe. Those a lot of people forget. But Spree was just a wild flower. One of those guys that could create, could do so much. And when he teamed up with Allen Houston, it turned into another light. He never had that option of where I saw him with, by the time I saw him with Minnesota, he was kind of like, things had kind of near the end of his career. And I think he kind of wasted. And in some ways, these cats are two big wasters because they could have been even better than they were. Glenn Rice always made me mad. That was that game they played against the Bulls, and he needed to keep 10 points, his streak alive, 180 something. Dave Collins let him get his points. I'll never forget that mess, and they were losing. So he had an upside to him, but I kind of felt, I don't know. I have to give Spree the edge, though. Spree had a more powerful game. I have to give him. Glenn was nasty on the perimeter, though. But I think Spree just hit you in a certain way. But those are a couple of cats. They should have been bigger, too. I might have to do a video about them cats. This is tougher than you think because I like them both, but for different reasons. Kid, again, came from the Magic Johnson school. I can beat you with scoring less and doing assists and rebounds. Stockton was more fundamental. Stockton could set you up. Stockton was actually a prototype to Nash because he could shoot from the perimeter. He had range. He could space. He could play. And he understood pick and roll and screens and getting teammates involved. So I got to give the slight edge to Stockton because he could make you do some things that you didn't want to. I got to say he was more consistent. I think Kid wasn't as consistent. Tony Parker. I know Billups got the finals MVP in 04, but I just didn't think Parker showed me more. Frenchie was huge. Frenchie got a finals MVP too against LeBron in Cleveland. Tony Parker, the teardropper, I think he had a more consistent career. I think he, got better with time. But Johnson did too, but I just think Parker navigated that situation better. Asking me this one, I'm taking Gary Payton. When you're known as the glove, I mean, his defense was better than anything Chris Paul has done. Plus, he was clutch. He did get to the finals a few times, and he was an integral part for Miami. And he was there for Seattle against Chicago in 96. CP3 then had better squads and better situations, and he underachieved. I think Gary Payton was a better leader. So I'm taking the glove. Yeah. That's not hard for me. For some people, it depends on where you live and what the media tells you and what you feel. But, I can see it. Just like I said about, Tony Parker did more. And him and Ginobili with Duncan, they were huge. So, I don't know. I look at things a little bit different because Chauncey, to me, didn't start his career didn't start that way like that. And then when he got Larry Brown, that's when everything came to fruition. But then I think that when he got to Denver, just things didn't fall like they did. That's why I have a hard time accepting him as a Hall of Famer. I think he was in the good range. I don't think he was great. I think Parker made himself into a great player. That's the difference. I think I like Chauncey, but I wouldn't put him in that kind of category. So. Tracy McGrady. Because, come on. Booker can score and create, but T-Mac, Orlando T-Mac, Houston T-Mac, he was offensive machine. He just didn't have the mental capacity to keep it going. And they are similar because you can say they both underachieved in different ways. And T-Mac is never going to play with the Kevin Durant guy, especially during his peak of his prime. So we'll never know how that was. But I just think you could get more with T-Mac than you can with Booker. Booker looked like he was promising something. But Devin Booker, to me, is just like Paul George. I always thought of him as a junior whopper version of Kobe. And until I'm proven wrong, I can't really buy into him because Phoenix is nowhere near as dominant as they should be. And he really hasn't shown me a lot of upside since they got to the finals a couple years ago. So until I see something, I'm just not really buying it. And I think T-Mac just came up bigger, just move me more. It's out of Joel Embiid and Jokic. I mean, I'm cool with either one. They're the best two going. The big men are going. You know, I mean, somebody will give Giannis some love. That's it. Some might give Luka some love. I think Chris Alexander, Shea would definitely get some nod for me. I'd say Shea belongs in the category, and that's it. You know, Shea would be my wild card because I really like what he's doing. Even though they got to play better defense and they got to beat and win some more games. But Joel Embiid is playing out of his mind right now. He just needs to tank it over to the postseason. But Joker is right there, so you can always make a case for him. You know, so. But I really don't even care about that now because I want to see what the guys do when it comes money time. So, if Shea came up, if OKC was a little bit better, I'd say that. Now, I think deep down, what you really need, you need Shea and Anthony Edwards to blow up to give the American players some hope. Then you know they want Jason Tatum to be the dude, but Embiid is balling, Jokic is balling, Luka. Great question. Thank you for this question. With the Bills, it was a couple years ago when they lost to Kansas City in that overtime game. I'm like, how do you lose in 13 seconds? That was the most heartening in recent memory. Maybe even more so than the Super Bowls because the Giants game was tough to take. But the Washington game, we got physically beat up. And the game against Dallas, we turned the ball over. But the one against the Kansas City in the playoff, Josh Allen played his best football ever. And you can't lose in 13 seconds. I'm sorry. You can't. Far as the Heat go, Dallas, because that was the most heartening. That way they lost to the Mavericks and Dwayne Wade got on my nerves for coasting and LeBron didn't show up. That was tough. I'll never forget that one. That was tough. Easily. As a Yankees fan, 0-4 against Boston. Need not say anything else. That was tough. Oh, you're asking about the Seattle team that won the Super Bowl that beat Denver against the 2020 Bucks that beat Kansas City. Which team was the best? Is that the question? Because I want to make sure I answer this the right way. You got to let me know, is that your question? I want to make sure I'm understanding it. Or you're asking me who was the better team of the two? If you're asking me who's the better team of those two, okay. Because that's what I was thinking about. Oh, I'd say 2014. He just didn't run the ball in 2020 to the end zone. I don't know why. I don't know why he got cold feet. But that 2014, I still don't know how they lost that game. I mean, Russell Wilson played like he was drunk. He was throwing picks all over the place. Aaron Rodgers did not throw the ball towards Richard Sherman's way the whole game, but I don't know how you lost that one. At least with Tampa Bay, Brady hit a deep pass. I could say that Brady had a decent first half. I could say that, hey, before he threw those 3 picks, I could say he looked. Oh yeah, he do. But that was a one play. But if you ask me, if I'm asking you if I was looking at the Packers from a game, that championship against Seattle, that's the one. Because the all-side kick, the whole night, I still don't know. Russell was garbage that game. I don't understand it. That one to me looks suspect. Yeah, Favre does, but Favre and Aaron are different guys, though. You found that out. So that's how I look at that. Yeah, that's true though. And I feel bad for you. Both of them were tough losses, I think. I know some people are going to keep going on about Bass, but Bass ain't why we lost that game. He missed the field goal, but that's not why we lost. That's not why we lost. I'm not blaming it on the kicker. We just didn't do what we supposed to do. You can't let Mahomes. I told you, you can't let the run on you like they did, and let Kelsey get in squat and play that like they did. You were playing tit for tat, and you lost the game. You never made. Remember, they fumbled that ball by the goal line. It could have been worse. So even if he makes the field goal, if Kansas City scored a touchdown, they still got us. Uh, that could have been 38-27. Think about it, 7-3. Rightfully so. I haven't watched it. I'm gonna watch it, but rightfully so. I have no problem with that because um, you can't be that futile. You can't be that futile. Josh Allen has to make Diggs a part of the offense. After what happened to Cincinnati last year, you got to get him in there. And when you're not making it, you're not bringing it. It's embarrassing. So I have no problem with that at all. I have no problem with that at all. I feel the same way. You know, it's just like with Dallas with Lamb and Dak. You know, if you just like the 49ers, give it to McCaffrey, give it to Debo. You got to go with your bread and butter. You know, Mahomes came in with Kelsey, so you knew it was going to happen. So if you don't like it, stop it. So that's how I look at it. Jim Kelly wins yesterday. He wins in Kansas City 2 years ago. He wins against, okay? Now, Josh Allen might be a talented quarterback, but he ain't a smarter quarterback. Jim Kelly wins those games. That's the difference right there. That's the difference. So, and that's why talent sometimes is overrated because guy can have more talent than somebody, but they don't know how to finish and do it. Or they don't know how to right cut. They don't know. Marv Levy would have put them in a better position. You know, Josh Allen wants to run and he wants to gun and play. You know, but everybody knows what you're going to do. That's why you're always in the same predicament year in, year out. That's why it's tough being a Bills fan. You know, I saw what I think Two Raw Sports did because he's a Bills fan too, and I saw what he said. The only difference between me and him is that I'm still going to be a Bills fan. That's my team, but I've come to accept that they just underachieve. I've come to accept that they just not going to bring it. They're just not. They're not good enough to bring it. So. So. How about going to Philly would be logical. I mean, anybody that's close to winning, yeah, I'd say yeah. I wouldn't go to Chicago from him, but Philly, yeah, yeah. If he's a finisher, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll give you that. So, you know, he never was off the block. You know, when your coach says that they have a clause because you playing too many video games, they just didn't find a taker for him. He modeled himself after they beat Philly, and he had a couple of games, but yeah, they want him out of there. I think he will go to Washington. That's why I think either Washington or Pittsburgh. He'll go somewhere like that. He's done in Arizona. They can't get nothing with him. They think he's a malcontent. In another year and another day, that'd be the end of a black quarterback in that situation, but they need a brother to come in and replace him. So he will get a job, and he is problematic, but he's good. Well, Tomlin has always been disrespected because, again, a black man who kind of stands and doesn't do no nonsense, and he's not really fan media per se. But the problem is that I don't know if Russell can do anything at all. I don't know. I've heard that said before, but I don't know about no Russell Wilson. Not at this stage. Yeah, he is. And done a great job. Because if you can take Myron Rudolph, if you can win with them bums that they got, Mitch Trubisky, you got third tier bums, them turkeys that they stuck with, and you're good, and you're in the playoffs. Pfft, please put 17 up against the Bills. That's why I knew Kansas City had a chance to beat us yesterday. Yeah, Tomlin can coach. Him and Sean McDermott were William and Mary in Virginia and Williamsburg teammate. Tomlin just a better coach, though. He understands how to coach ego and get balanced, so that's the difference. If we had him as a coach, we're in the Super Bowl. Josh Allen would be another step up. I'm just saying. That's how I look at it, son. Yep. Well, yeah, because you got to remember, I mean, he's be 10 years in a couple of years. And you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, the first 6 years of his, 6 years of his starting career, he's just camping out in AFC championship games. Dak hasn't been to one. Let that sink in. Mahomes has as many this year success stories as Dak has in almost a 10-year career. Let that sink in. With more talent too. You give Patrick Mahomes, Ezekiel and Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and some of that other and that defense. What would you want? Just saying. So, you know. But the problem is that there's not really a replacement for Dak because they really can't get equal quality or value. So they're kind of stuck with him. Yeah, and I said I did a video where I talked about Micah Parsons, and I was like, look, I'm not even a Skip Bayless fan because I think he's overrated, but he was right. You talk all that yang and your defense, and you were compared to my cousin Lawrence Taylor, and you didn't do jack. You didn't do jack when it counted. Beating up on the Giants. Oh yeah, you scored 900 points against the Giants and shut them out. Like you beat up on Danny DeVito and these other turkeys these turkeys who ain't even got a chance to be beer men at stadiums alone holding a clipboard, let alone quarterbacking, and you got your chest out. Take your butt out to Frisco and get clowned. We ain't gonna talk about the Arizona weapon clapping you. But then you just get Buffalo runs you off the field. Josh Allen didn't even throw half of his body weight in that game. They just ran your butt off the field, just ran you, beat you like they playing sandlot football. Like you just they just, I mean, no, no. But a lot of that's also Mike McCarthy because they don't have a coach that they respect and they know that they lighten the cakes. So they get exposed for being frauds. No, because he doesn't even know how to use CeeDee Lamb the right way. CeeDee Lamb could be even a better receiver than he is, but they're not being ran the right way. Mm-mm. 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 So that's how I feel about it. Think they could be a lot better than what they are. Yeah, well, they need magic at a quarterback, and I don't know that Kyler Murray or something like that. I don't know what they're gonna get, but that's a couple year progress. And without Chase Young on defense, I don't know what they're gonna do. They got a lot of work to do. A lot of work. So the jury's still out on that though. I wouldn't make a lot of changes with them. I mean, they could, but I don't think he would go there. If anything, he'd go to a Buffalo. Maybe a Baltimore, Philadelphia. I don't think he'd go there. Not at this stage of his career. He'd go somewhere there close to maybe needing something like that. Or Kansas City. He'd be scary with Mahomes. Don't let him know I said that. He'd be scary with them. So, but yeah, they're gonna have to rebuild now. They can't afford to wait to see if they lose because they quit on their coach. So I don't understand when you say maybe they got to rebuild now. On Nick Salami or Sirianni, they quit on him. His butt is under the eye next year because about 6-10 games in the season, if they're playing like this, he's gone. They quit on him. He put on notice. Their problem is that they lost all them coordinators and there's certain pieces in place, and then they just stop. They need some identity again. They got fat on off the hog. They stopped playing. So, but it's a done deal there, though, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, because they want to pass this narrative like he's the second coming to Montana and he's the quarterback. But folks in the know, and I watched the Cam Newton show on YouTube Streets, and he's right. It's all about McCaffrey and Debo, really. Purdy is nice. I mean, he's good. But do I look at him as this dude? I didn't really feel like it when McCaffrey wasn't playing and Debo was. He looked very lethargic and kind of lost. So, and I'm not going for that. No, he ain't on Montana because Montana was incredible uh, before Rice. So, so that's how I look at it. I think he's good, but he ain't great. Oh yeah, because McCaffrey's a bad boy. And McCaffrey's going to be considered like the Eminem of running backs for white boys. Now, if you ain't too young to remember John Riggins, and I understand that, but you haven't had a white boy to come along that is especially in a day and time when running backs are not even sought after like that. That's why Derrick Henry's like a rare breed, and why Saquon Barkley still keeps it. They're not even sought after for past 5 years. So this guy's been injury prone too, but the 49ers got to still get him from Carolina. So um, he's special, and Trent Williams is bad too. But I think McCaffrey, because of the significance of being a white running back too and dominating, yeah, MVP candidate worthy. Yeah. So yeah. So I definitely think a lot of McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. I was prior too, because when they were stuck with Matt Millen, that didn't seem like that was gonna ever happen. You gotta understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about God, you I mean the last time the Lions, I mean, God, the last time the Lions were relevant, that's back when Ice Cube was dominating the music charts, okay? I mean, that should kind of put things in perspective. I mean, that's back when Bobby Brown was still a force on the music charts. I mean, that's a long time ago, lifetime ago. You've had so much technology emerge since the Lions last counted. It's crazy when you think about it. So I don't blame him for crying because that's how significant it is. So, oh, Devin Hester, duh. Yeah, that one might be the top dog. Devin Hester made me mad against that Super Bowl against the Colts because Devin Hester was like the Mike Tyson fight. I had my food ready and get ready, and before I know it, he was already the guy like Tyson's knocked people out. Hester be running back. Hester was the beast with it. Dion can't even lie. Billy White Shoes Johnson. Dion, because with the stepping was fun. White Shoes, yeah, being City, he was bad too. So, mm-hmm. You know who was underrated as a kickoff returner was Rod Woodson because he did a couple of them too. But Mitchell was that all-purpose cat. Good call about that. And I wanted to say there's a couple other guys I can't think of right now for Cleveland. I wanted to say, oh, I can't think right now, but they had a couple of cats that I like that did it too. So, but yeah, good call on Brian Mitchell. Yeah, he was something else. But yeah, those guys come to mind. Mm-hmm. That's a lost art too. A good kickoff returner. But yeah, Devin Hester was that dude though. And I like Deron Cherry. And I mentioned, like I said, Dion, those guys are like, mm-hmm. Daryl Green would have been good too, because he did do a couple of them too for Washington. Mm-hmm. I think John Stallworth never gets his due if you want my honest opinion. I think Gary Clark for Washington. I think Andre Reed doesn't get enough. I think he's underrated personally. I think um, hmm, Harold Carmichael doesn't get enough due. Um, hmm. I like Driver and Jimmy Smith. I would probably say I pick on hmm because I got to think off the top of my dome. Who else would I pick on that I would say was under John Taylor, 49ers. He was underrated to me. Hold, let me get this real quick. He was yeah, because he played with Jerry Rice. He was a bad boy though. McCaffrey was clutch. Um, what I say? I like McAfee. I like McAfee. I like McAfee. Who else would I say? Um, oh God, he used to play for the Packers back in with Favre, light skinned brother. He was underrated. Obviously, I'm gonna say Sterling Sharp. Sterling was bad. To me, he was better than his brother. He just got hurt. John Jefferson with the Chargers was a beast. He was a freak. Antonio Freeman, there you go. Yeah, because I still remember that catch he made that Monday Night Football game, and he was tough. He just never, he was bad. Um, um, uh, Joey Galloway could make a case for Joey because he was fast. Um, um, I'm just saying so. Plexico, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll give you those guys. Vic Penn, I like. Curse, I saw them. Percy Harvin had some moments. Um, I'd say uh, Steve Tasker, even though Don Beebe and them, so it's kind of like you juggernaut. So yeah, yeah. So he was good. I didn't. I don't. I thought. I thought he had good hands. I wasn't blown away by him. I think Wes Chandler was underrated. So, who else would I pick on? Um, um, hmm. No, he was great. No, I don't think he was underrated. Largen was already considered one of the greatest, just like Don Maynard, Lance Allworth. No, he's considered great. When we talk about, I mentioned Andre Reed because Andre Reed will not get to kind of do what he did because Rice and Mike Irvin were bigger, but larger. Yeah, that's a good one, Reggie Wayne. I'll give you that because Marvin was considered the dude. Give you that. I can see that. He had big years with Houston. They underachieved, and they didn't finish up. They didn't finish up. He had stats. He just didn't. You know, Josh Cribbs comes to mind too. Should have been a Hall of Famer. So, so, so that's kind of yeah. Um, Underrated pass rushers all time. Who would I say? Uh, hmm. Did I want to say thinking Dexter Manley? Am I thinking um Kevin Green was good. I thought him and oh God, what's his name for Pittsburgh at the time? I can't oh God, I can't think when they tag team together because they went to the Super Bowl together. He was a good tag team when he came out from the Rams, Kevin Green. Um hmm. Most of the times when I think about underrated pass rushers, I'm thinking particular teams because like the combo is kind of like when I look at what the Giants had unsung, and just like the Bears had. So Elvis was, he was, he was, he was. But I'm still thinking Kevin Green's teammate in Pittsburgh, Joey Porter, that's what it was. But Green did get love. You know, I'm just trying to think because I got to circulate with the teams. It's a good question. It's kind of unorthodox though because I got to think about places and people and places and where they were. Yeah, Greg Lloyd. What am I thinking about Joey Porter? But yeah, Greg Lloyd was bad at that time because I remember Lloyd was playing with Pittsburgh and he used to with a terrible time. I remember how bad he was too. They did kind of underachieve though. See, the only problem when you say underrated pass rushers, I'm thinking that teams were either great on defense, but their team sucked. Usually that's kind of where it goes. So I have to really think about that for a moment because usually they had a great defensive player. It's kind of like when I look at uh, Joe Klecko, but Mark Gaston had all the sacks. So it's kind of like it depends on how you're asking me that question because one guy is more dominant than the other. And people tend to forget who the sidekick was, but their teams were either good or they didn't achieve. That's the funny thing about defense in the NFL. So underrated pass rushers is kind of an interesting question because sometimes you got teams that they were either that good or they weren't that great. Yeah, Simeon was known. He had respect. I'm trying to think though. I want to say somebody from the Arizona Cardinals that come to mind. Yeah, Matthews was good. Yeah, yeah. Campbell was too. I remember. Simeon Rice probably comes to mind more than anyone in Green because they actually had careers and they could have been what I can say you could say Hall of Fame bound, and they had some memorable. Clay played forever in a day. All the Matthews played forever in a day. He was bad. Don't think, but he was a bad boy though. So, well, Jonathan Ogden, and I'd said John Hanna, Ogden, Hanna, Larry Allen, um, Mike Custer, and oh, that's four right there. And God, what was I pick on? Um, uh, one of the Washington Hogs. Zimmerman was Orlando Pace. Yeah, so I probably Pace or Hutchinson. Yeah, and Walter that played for Seattle, because I had the one dude, I can't think of his name, but we was talking about Sean Alexander last night. He was a beast. He ran over there by the side with Hutchinson and Walter. I can't think of his name, but that was the dude that helped Sean Alexander up. And then, because these are kind of hard to say too, because like I say, Reggie McKenzie with the electric company, but OJ ran back there. So, but Zimmerman. Yeah, Orlando Pace comes to mind. Zimmerman, them two come to mind. But I mentioned the other cats though. And I mentioned Larry Allen and Nate Newton. Dallas had probably 2 or 3 of the best one. Jacoby, the one that was with the Washington when they were the Hogs, was bad. John Hanna with New England, Webster with Pittsburgh, So those guys come to mind. Okay. I'm not arguing. There's a lot of guys to pick from. Mines tend to be more older school to guys because those guys had long careers and longevity, but it's cool. I do know about Pace and Zimmerman. So most of the times, guys I remember though, they were blocking for great running backs. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Defensive lineman. Let me see what I want to pick on. This is gonna be tough too because I gotta think about who I want to get. Let me get my brain going. I am going to say Reggie White. And then I got to think off the top of my head. I want to give Alan Page his due. He was a bad dude. Some people going to give J.J. Watt his due. Charles Haley. Yeah. Reggie White. LT. Let's see, I want to pick on. Me and O'Donnell. Let me see what I say about him. I know that he's great, but Reggie LT. But I gotta think Charles Haley. I gotta have Charles Haley up in there for sure. I like Richard Dent a lot. I gotta think. Those guys come to mind on defensive linemen. On that line. So yeah. Donald's bad though. So they come to mind. Mm-hmm. Backs and safeties. We're going Ken Houston. We're going Dale Green. We're going Deion Sanders, Ronnie Lott. Or corners, my bad. I meant corners. Green. Champ Bailey. Ken Houston. Let's see what I pick on. Then I got to think about. I was gonna pick on. Yeah, I said Champ Bailey, Rod Woodson, Dion, Mel Blunt, Ronnie Lott, Troy Polamalu, Reed. I want to say Ty Law, and I definitely like Charles Woodson. Yeah, it's a lot to pick from now on, and then safeties. I gotta think about safeties. Underrated baseball closers. Kent Covey. Uh, Mitch Berger, because the one he was pitching with the Giants, that guy was incredible. Remember that one game he did the back-to-back. Covey, Berger. I would say Tom Gordon didn't get his due. Yeah, he was good. I actually tell you, yeah, Thigpen from White Sox, because he was big at one time. He was actually big. I remember he was big at one time. I'd say John Smoltz, ironically, when he converted. But yeah, good call on Thigpen. I'll give you that. I had to think about that one for a moment. Yeah. Yeah. So, Bobby Wagner. Oh, you talking about the football player? Or you talking about the baseball? Because I gotta make sure, Underrated closers, I also would say Willie Hernandez, since you asked. Got to go back and think about him. He was underrated. And I would also say McGraw. Yeah, Billy Wagner. Yeah, Billy Wagner, Tug McGraw, Tim's daddy. And yeah, because I'm thinking again back in the day. Those guys come to mind. McGraw was bad back in the day for the Phillies. He was clutch. I tend to prefer more of the older school relief pitchers because the ones that were unknown but some Mitch Burger was bad though for the Giants. But most of the ones I really respect were the ones from back then because they actually saved games and they could pitch long. Not like the short order fry cook slash guys now that have 55 saves and they have 50 games, I think Pettit is underrated as a starting pitcher. CC was a legit starter. CC was like a guy that you could almost say could have probably been a Hall of Famer. Not Pettit, but Pettit was underrated because Pettit, to me, when it came postseason time, he was the money dude that I wanted starting on the mound. And that's one of the reasons why people gave him so much love. So, so I don't look at CC. I look at Pettit more underrated because CC was bad boy with Cleveland and with the Yankees. Yeah, Moose was tough. Baltimore and came to the Yankees. He was tough. It's just that Schilling has what those call those iconic moments in the postseason with the bloody sock, and then he went with Arizona. And his postseason lore is almost like a Lynn Swan level of a catch because that's what you remember. Mediocre during the regular season in his Philly career, but his postseason career, he was like on a whole nother trapper. And see, that's the thing. Money time make you look, you know, and he's a great example of that. 200, a little over 200 wins in the season, but come money time, he was as good as any pitcher that was there. Clutch. And I can't stand him, but I got to call it 100. But I like Mussina a lot. Mussina was nice. Yeah, I like Cone. I like Cone. Bartolo is like ageless. That guy, like, he could pitch till he's like 63. He might be 63 for all I know. Because that he's still out there pitching. Yeah, he represents a different era. And again, it's kind of hard when we start these conversations about comparing eras and times because you got some guys, they defy the logic. And I have a hard time with it because I can't compare because things can change so drastically. You know, guys come along, they don't pitch, and you got guys, they do 70 pitches the first 3 or 4 innings, and they expected to pitch 120 pitches, and so and he's 40 plus years old, so it's different. It's different. It's different. It's different. I don't like him personally, but he was, I mean, with what he did in '98 and how he came up big, no arguments there. He could flat out pitch. He understood control. But it goes to show you it ain't about what you look like, it's what you can do. So there you go. He was clutch. I guess they did, but what they was hating on is because they didn't have him. That's what they were hating on. But I told you already, when we got him, he left Toronto. I mean, he had developed a whole different screwball. He was not the same dude he left Boston. He was multidimensional, and he had an incredible run. And when he got to Houston, I mean, he's arguably the greatest right-hand pitcher ever. Maybe the greatest pitcher. It depends in your lifetime. You can make a strong case for him. Size and stuff is overrated in sports. Shaquille O'Neal proved that already because Shaq said, if I came in like a six-pack like Alonzo Mourning, what did that mean? It don't mean nothing. Stop defining with body types because I seen some big dudes that was soft and cutted like jello, and I seen some dudes that was thin and they was hitting you with wood and plywood. So can't go by that. Can't go by that. It's what's in the heart and making it come to the mind. It's not about how you look. Michael Jordan told you 80% of playing basketball was mental. So yeah, they were. Moore got off, and Cliff Lee was consistent. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Give you that. Dusty Baker, Billy Martin, Joe Torre, Sparky Anderson, Lou Pinella, um, Earl Weaver, Cito Gaston, um, what's his buddy used to manage Tampa Bay and went to Chicago and won with the oh God, I can't even think of his name now. I like the way he skips. He's a good skipper. That man can manage. I respect LaRusso, not the biggest fan, but you got to give it to him. Tommy Lasorda was a G. Wasn't the biggest on him, but he could manage. Um, um, Chuck Tanner, uh, Bobby, Bobby Cox. Yeah. Oh, one of my favorites ever though was St. Louis Cardinals. So hit it when your brain be going numb. Whitey Herzog. Yeah, Whitey. See, I gotta think. I remember these guys. You know, I still remember these cats. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bruce Bochy. Gotta give him his due. So. Yeah, they got into it. Leland was a good manager too. I forgot to give him his due. He's a good manager too. Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why he ended up getting out of there though. So, but cats will try you, see what they can get away with. So, yeah. Pirates did underachieve though with him and Vince like and Bonilla though. They did underachieve. I still don't know how Barry Bonds didn't throw Sid Bream out. That was a laughable how that didn't happen. As slow as Sid Bream ran around second to third to home plate, but anyway. Because Barry did have a good arm though, so but anyway. They kind of underachieved though. Yeah. Well, they in due respect, they were blacker with really started Dave Parker and them. And when they had Mike Easler and they had Bill Mad Dog Madlock and those guys, the Pirates back then, if you actually go back to Jim Beebe, they were blacker in the 70s. Bill Robinson when they won the We Are the Family Pirates. But Bonds at that time, yeah, but they were black back then. John Milner, I remember Rennie Snick, Stan, they had a black ball club after Clemente passed, all that. So, yeah. But yeah, Andy Van Slyke is a snitch. He definitely talked a lot of trash. And he underachieved too. He made a couple of catches in center field and they bought him a lifetime pass to kind of get his Michael Rappaport on, but I don't like that buster. And what was it? They asked him the most stupid, asinine questions you can imagine. You know, it's not always on the like. I like how Mike Tomlin got on last year when they said you're gonna take the USC job. He said, "I'm a professional football coach. I'm not going back to college." That shut him up. And they tend to do this about black players. They tend to ask stuff that just yeah, yeah. But Bobby, I mean Barry got that from his daddy Bobby too. Just wasn't giving white folks the time of day, and that's what it was. It was they just didn't be, you know. So I got the message loud and clear. Anyway, I'll be on for a few more minutes because I gotta make a move. Been here. Halloween, The Omen. I want to say, oh God, Stephen King. Oh God, what was it? Animalville Horror. The one with Sissy Spacek, which I always liked. The one with Sissy Spacek. Get my phone out. Carrie, yeah, that's one of my favorite ones ever. That's one of my favorites. Old school creepy movies. The Bates Motel, all that stuff. I liked all that stuff. Back in the day. I haven't seen a good horror movie in years. But back in the day, that was the norm. That's a lost art, too. Yeah, that's a lost art. You have to be of a certain time period to appreciate good horror movies because they're not the standard no more. The anime or the claymation or the robot versions don't count. I'm talking about the real horror. So, yeah. So, yeah. I have to do some watching too because I got to see what they're talking about. What I do with the thing? I think I moved it. Did I hit that plug? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. But I like those movies back in the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Animalville Horror. There were some great ones back in the day. Great ones. Well, I definitely enjoyed coming through this afternoon. This was cool. I might do had to vent about the Bills in Kansas City and get that off my chest. And I did a video, talked about Detroit and Tampa Bay. The Lions deserve where they are. More power to them. Good luck against Frisco. They are for real. I don't know what's going to happen with Jared Goff. We already addressed that about Jared Goff. Win or lose, they definitely made some big news, but it's going to be interesting. But of course, the real game is going to be Mahomes against Lamar. That's where it's going to be. And I'll probably think about that the whole week because it's a matter of destiny against legacy. So we'll see how that plays out. I think they're going to talk about it. I almost wish they could be in the Super Bowl against each other because it's almost criminal that they have to play in the same conference. Just saying. So, but anyway, I'm going to call it a moment after this and get myself together. It was great seeing you again. Thanks for everybody that came through for the great questions. Appreciate everything. Peace and the best. And I will be back. I might come back during the week. Definitely on the weekend. All right. Great to see you. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all the questions. Made my head think. I appreciate it because I had to do some thinking. I had to do some catch up on some stuff. There were some great questions, of course, that made me think. So I'll catch you up. All right. I'm out. Peace.